Hello, everybody. This is Tara with Tara's Independent Voice, and I am coming to you right now to give you a review of the new paranormal documentary called Demon House. And Demon House is a documentary done by the head of the GAC, the Ghost Adventures crew, and that's Zak Bagans, who is very, very popular and is really one of the last shows standing from the what I would have called the height of the ghost TV shows. But there's actually more now than there were way back when he started, and then Ghost Hunters came. And there's just a lot of them. And now the last man standing is Zak and his crew, Billy, and what's his other name? Billy and what? Jay, Billy Tully and Jay Wasley and Zak Bagans. So this is very cool stuff. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to say the names of all the victims that this demon possession has wrought or has allegedly wrought upon pretty much anybody who's come in contact with the house or with someone who has left the house, and you get in their presence. Now I'm going to tell you, first off, this film is going to be very hard for skeptics to believe. Absolutely, almost impossible for your real skeptic. And I'm not a skeptic, but I also am not completely naive. I understand that shows like Ghost Adventures have to come up with results. And I also completely understand that sometimes maybe something's fudged here and there. Um, it is also an entertainment show, and I can understand that. I do believe, however, they have come up with some real um, evidence, and I believe in ghosts and spirits and demons and angels, and I just really feel like this is an important documentary. We've never really had a documentary on a house as seemingly evil as the Demon House, which actually Zak heard about and bought it over the phone, sight unseen. It allegedly holds 200 demons, and and frankly, I don't know how that was figured out. It's never dealt with in the film, um, but I would like to know that. I would like to know how they came up with, just out of thin air, a number of 200 demons. I know there are some specific entities that they were worried about. The main one being a 12-foot tall figure, dark figure, with the goat head, which of course is right away actually the sign of Satan himself. And the way they portray this house, I just wouldn't want to be in it. I'll tell you that much right now. Of course it's gone because Zak tore it down. But let me tell you this story. Now, it started out before this, but there really isn't all that much information, although Zak does track down people, and some of those people want to talk and some don't. Even, the woman who lived there who had an exorcism done on her and her son, they don't want to talk. I believe a lot of that is because they may make more money by talking to a filmmaker, and that was talked about in the film. And I'll give you my opinion, because they wouldn't say who the filmmaker's name is, but I think I've figured it out just from what they say. And I am an independent film reviewer, and of course, there are some landmark independent films, and I believe the filmmaker of one of those films is the person who was trying to get the rights to the movie. He wanted to make a motion picture about this house, and I'm all for that. I think it would be great. Um, but I'd much rather see a true story, a true story. If this house is as bad as they say, they wouldn't need to fabricate much of a script as far as making up stuff that happened in the house. They've got enough. They've got enough. Such things that happened to this specific person who lived in the house with her two sons and fell victim, and allegedly, I hate to say allegedly because to that woman it's not allegedly, I don't think it's allegedly to Zak either. He actually fell victim to the house, as did one of the cameramen fell victim to the house, as did one of the most famous paranormal experts we've ever seen. That's Barry Taft. And if you know the entity case, you know, then you've heard of Barry Taft, because he is the person who that woman involved in the entity case found, and he went in and actually got her released from a very nasty entity that was actually sexually assaulting her. Like I said, the paranormal is not for weenies. It's not for people that are just going to make fun of it. You know, I would never make fun of a film like this, especially because I'm a little afraid of it. And that's good, because Zak Bagans puts right in the beginning of the film, they tell you that this house is cursed and the film is cursed. That's pretty scary. I actually prayed twice in the film. I am a believer in God and Christ, and I know who to pray to, and I did. Once before the film started, and I was fine, and I felt kind of slipping into, oh my gosh, this is horrible, and I prayed again. And I feel okay. I actually got sick the next day, but my health is iffy, and that happens. Anyways, this woman who was raising her two children in this rented house, it's seemingly small, but it has a huge basement. The whole house sets on this basement, and one of the children had his room down in the basement, and it is down there where the majority of the activity seems to emulate from. If so, this woman has her two sons, and they were not going to school for days at a time. And I'm not sure, but I believe they mentioned that when they did go to school, they may have bruises on them or whatever the case may be. But not going to school for days at a time apparently is enough reason for the school to send out a social worker. And she was going to decide if the children should be taken away or not. Now, I remember reading about this case when Zak first bought the house, and I thought I read that this occurrence happened in the house. In the movie, it happens in a hospital room, and that is because they take the kids to the hospital and they have them checked out. Well, both of them, one I think just has an attachment, while the younger child gets a full-on possession. He is the one, I know a lot of you have heard about this, who walked up a wall. This was in full view of doctors, nurses, a policeman, and of course the social worker. None of these people would be bad witnesses if they saw a shooting or if they saw a mugging or anything like that. So why should they be bad witnesses if they see something like this, which is probably more shocking than the other two things? A child just doesn't climb up a wall. And I know my daughter watched the show and sent me some videos of people crawling up walls, holding on. No, this child backed up this wall and was crawling up the wall. I'm telling you, this, I don't know how it happened. I don't want to see it. I don't want to be near it. But I've got to put some kind of stock in the fact that such reliable people saw this happen. Then she, of course, had to leave the house. She took her children. She left and went and I guess stayed with her mother or maybe her sister. I don't really remember. But Zach went there and they wouldn't talk. But one guy did talk and he came out and he specifically said exactly what I just said. Said that people saw all kind of dark shadows in the house, that people would get in the house and become different. And a lot of it stemmed from being in the basement. It seems like when you go into the basement that people would start being different. They would stop and just stare off into space. They would get dizzy and they would get sick, and people would have to leave them out of the basement, or else they would be kind of okay and then they'd go upstairs and just kind of lose it. Now, we've seen Zach before in several places, in the Goldfield Hotel. I think Bobby Mackey's. I'm not sure. Pavalia maybe. There's several places where Zach has just lost it, and this cannot be overlooked because Zach did have a bad reaction at one point when he went up and became aggressive, and like I said, there was one of his cameramen just had a really bad experience after the fact. So, I mean, this is pretty powerful if you consider all you have to do is be next to somebody who's been in the house, who maybe had a hitchhiker, and that can be very bad. The policeman who witnessed what the child did in the hospital is one that had been called to the house a few times. He actually, in the line of his regular duty, had been shot right around this time. And I know they make much of that. Policemen get shot. It's very rare, but it happens. So you can't say absolutely positively, okay, he left the house, he got shot, it was part of the possession. That's probably not true. The social worker, she just couldn't even keep her job. She left her job. She moved across the country. I don't know where to. He did get to talk to her via Skype, I believe. And she was in a bad way, or at least she had been in a bad way. They didn't say if she was still a functioning social worker or even a functioning person, but she was cooperative with the film. And then it goes from there, and as you can imagine, it's very much handled like an episode of Ghost Adventures, except on steroids and of course longer. It has the feeling of Ghost Adventures. They do the dramatizations of different things, which I always find to be some of the best part. I also love the way Ghost Adventures goes into history of the house, of the area. And Zach tried to dig as much as he could into this home. Of course, it's hard to find people after years and years and years. And probably, there's probably people who just don't want to talk about it. They did bring, at one point, a person who used to live there, who was one of these people, and she brought her two children. They did go down in the basement, and the daughter looked pretty out of it when she got up to the top. And of course, the camera looks all over at people and then kind of zeroed in on her as she was having that 1,000 mile stare, I think they call it. And that was just kind of freaking me out. And yeah, she ended up um, having a very large problem, and she ended up having an exorcism. So there's no lack of information in this film. There's no um, it's just all put out there for you. I don't think Zach cares if you believe it or not. I think what he cares about, and I've interviewed him 3 times. Once one on one over the phone when his first book came out. And then 2 times I was in a joint phoner where everybody got their time to ask a question. And that was for the starting of one season and then the starting of another season when they open these things to the press so that, you know, you ask questions and then you can do a write-up and let people know that the new season is starting. So in my heart, I really believe that Zach is a person who, much like myself actually, saw something when they were a child and believed it to be possibly true and then went to, that's where I cut it off because I didn't for myself. I don't have to go out there and look because I know. But Zach is about the science. He's looking for where, why, when, and how, which is what a journalist does. And he wants to know what happens to you after you die. Where do you go? Can you just cross over and leave, or does something hold you here? It's just he's about the science, and I think that's why almost every season they have brought in a new equipment or improved equipment to try and catch that little bit of evidence that will go into a puzzle and maybe someday um, make that puzzle one big picture, one big cohesive picture that will show you exactly what is going on. I think it's possible. I mean, it's, when Columbus sailed the ocean blue, everybody thought the world was flat. That's major. That's the whole world. And they thought that because nobody had ever gone past the horizon to see that no, the horizon keeps going because the world curves. And so I think Zach is a pioneer in this, and he takes a lot of a lot of uh, a lot of crap from people on the internet who say blah blah blah. This is BS. This never happened. It was all made up. There's videos out there about it. I just don't care about them. I really don't. And I think I have actually gone to a few of the places Zach has been. Queen Mary, the hotel in Death Valley Junction. I can't remember the name. Death Valley Opera House, something like that. The house, the Armagosa. That's it, in Armagosa. Um, I've been to the house. I want to say the Wharton House. I can't remember. Whaley. Thank you. The Whaley House. We have gone there, and many other places that were just small little places. And didn't really have much happen there. It's when I'm sitting in my own home. When I was very little, and when I was 21, and whenever. It's kind of like a ghost appears and is gone, and you just sit here. You just are like, what just happened? That's the way it happens. Zach and company go out and provoke. They don't provoke as much as they used to. After this film, I would have never provoked again. I probably would have quit a long time ago. But Zach and Bill and Jay, they keep going on because I think because they all believe. I really do. Oh, and Aaron, I'm sorry. I didn't mention Aaron. Zach, Aaron, Jay, Bill. I think they all believe. Aaron, how can I leave out Aaron? He is like, he's kind of the heart of the show, where Zach is the brains, and Bill and Jay are the rest of the brain. But I just think and feel in my heart that this is all kind of true. So let me tell you what I think about the film and about what happened, and tell you a few things that happened. I spoke of Barry Taft, who is very well known, probably the most well known parapsychologist in the world. And he ended up in the hospital in complete organ failure very soon after leaving. He actually fainted in the house and started bleeding from his ears. I believe he fainted at the house, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Yeah, he fainted. I have to ask my husband because my brain doesn't hold all the information I should have for a health reason. And Barry ended up in the hospital for a while they tried to find what was wrong with him. And they, as to my knowledge, as far as up until this film, they have not found a reason for his complete organ failure. But I believe he's better, and that's a good thing because he's important. He's still got important work to do. It seemed like Bill and Jay and Aaron, if they did have repercussions, it wasn't specifically spoken of. Um, the the cameraman who was on the job in this had a horrible reaction, absolutely horrible. And at one point, they're sitting in after getting this guy out out of the, and this is still while they're in the city. They're in their hotel after they're done. And this guy goes absolutely nuts. At one point, he's sitting at the table and he's already told whoever was doing the camera work to put the camera down. Really? They don't do that. The camera was just showing his body, but you could see him and you could hear his voice, more importantly. And Zach had asked him something, or somebody said something, and he said, they don't want me. They want you. And Zach later said he was pointing at Zach. He was pointing at Zach. They don't want this person. They want you. They want Zach. And you know what? I can understand that. I can. I can see how Zach would be put in a hit list in the, among demons. He's probably a very wanted young man. Other people, I mentioned the girl who used to live there that went back to the house. Even there was a really good, I can't remember exactly what it says, but her mother even started getting it. She was like this, having a good time, an okay person. And then when she was walking out the door, they were talking and she's, And then there's another, they have an EVP, which they didn't have a lot of them. But the ones they did have were freaking scary. Ugh. So her daughter ends up, I don't want to tell the whole story, but this is all things you can find online. But her daughter ends up trying to commit suicide, henceforth the exorcism. And there's just a lot of people. The policeman came into the house to talk to Zach. He was very uncomfortable and did not want to talk in the house. But of course, that makes the film better, and I can understand that. Like I said, I review a lot of films, and I don't want to just see somebody sitting in a cafe where he's completely safe talking about this house. I want to see them in the house, explaining what happened where. And he made for a very logical person. Like I said, he was a policeman for many years. He was a sergeant. He had been called to the house a few times, several times, and it was known in the department that this house is, you know, one of those houses. And I think we all have one in our neighborhood. If you don't have one of these in your neighborhood, somebody's not talking about it, because it seems like there's this scary house in everybody's neighborhood. And, you know, this was just a little bit out there as far as being this is the scary house. So just the people he talked to, people had very similar stories. They actually caught a very, very good piece of visual evidence. You're in my, I'm sorry. I know that was he. You were on my screen. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Back to being calm and cool and collected. I'm not. This movie freaked me out completely. And I waited. I rented this movie at like 12:30 on the 16th last week when it came out. 12:30. It came out at midnight. I have wanted to see this movie since I heard Zak had started a documentary on this home. Started a documentary on this home that he had bought sight unseen over the phone. Who does that? Oh yeah, I bought my house. I did. I bought my house sight unseen over the over the internet. But me and Zak apparently are two of a kind in that way. I guess if I was buying a haunted house, I wouldn't want to let people know what I was doing. I would just buy it over the phone or over the internet. That actually makes sense to me, seriously. The What I want to leave you with is what Zak left us with. I know what you're thinking. Where's the lockdown? What happened during the lockdown? Well, there was a lockdown. It was Zak by himself. He felt like he needed to know what was going on. He wanted it to be him to see what was going on. I think he regretted it then. I think he regrets it now, but it had to be done. Maybe in his mind. I think in my mind too. And he was actually boarded up into the house. He had his phone, and I think he had a flashlight. He was in there all night from sundown till sun up, and he had and this I'm not going to tell you. It's got to be something you go to watch this movie for, and there's a lot I didn't tell you. I told you some major things. This I'm not going to tell you. Suffice it to say that he had a very, very disturbing incident happen while he was in that house by himself. Something I hope to God I never experience, or that any of us ever experience. Yeah. However, he did pay for that, and that's the other thing. He's done interviews about it. He actually, when he was in the house, he got this really bad headache behind his eyes. And I don't know if any of you have had a migraine, but he called it a migraine headache. He said it was a horrible headache. He started having, I guess it was constant. He went to several doctors, both in Las Vegas, where he lives, and in Los Angeles, where, of course, probably went to some highly respected doctor, and they could find that, and they found that he had this disease. Well, this something happened to his eyes, and he could only see in prisms. So um, now he wears glasses that are prismed, so he can see. His eyesight was almost gone, I guess, at one point. And then the rest, he tells at the end what happened to certain people and this and that. And he also tells that, yes, he had the house torn down. He didn't want anybody to walk up there, break in. I mean, people tried to break in while they were there, not in the house, but going, to different places. And the neighbor was keeping an eye on the house, and he actually called Zak and said, somebody's on the porch trying to break into the house. So he didn't want anybody to end up in, trouble of whatever particular kind by this house. Now, it does beg the question, and the question was even asked by one of the people interviewed, was, so where did the demons in the house go when you tear it down? Do they stay on that parcel of land, or do they disperse all around wherever, if there are indeed 200 of them? Which, like I said, that's kind of a strange number to come up with, but that is the number that is stated. Like I said, there is one major player in the house, and that's the 10 or 12-foot tall demon with the goat's head. That would be enough. Yeah, that would be enough for me. Don't care what the other 199 demons are all about. So Zak had the house torn down, except he took the stairs that went down to the basement, because, well, it was a stair that didn't go straight up. It was like you went down the stairs and then you turned and there was a little staircase. What somebody found while they were investigating the house, they found that there had been a ritual done beneath that stair. And it could indeed be the ritual that invited in whatever was there in the house. Also, there were some items that are there from the ritual that were said to be there, and he found all of them except one, which was a fake nail that came off of somebody's finger. So he brought it all. He took it all along with the dirt, several pails of dirt, and he took it back to Las Vegas, and he put it into a storage unit. Well, now Zak has Zak's Haunted Museum. It always helps to have an animal around, because they can tell you when there might be something scary around. I've had animals my whole life, and I have depended on them a lot. Anyway, Zak has the Haunted Museum in Las Vegas. We are planning on going there next month, and he has taken the things that he found, that he took out of the house, and they're in the museum. And there's already been people who have left the museum never to come back, who are working there. I guess people who were actually putting up the display, one of those workers left and would never go back because of something he experienced. I want to go to the museum. There's enough there to be, there was enough there before this, that, the Dybbuk box that they have there, the Jack Kevorkian's VW van, where he he assisted people to pass over who were very, very ill and in pain. So this isn't a regular review, because this isn't a regular documentary. This is This is a paranormal documentary that is based on something that a lot of viable people, a lot of people who are considered people in their community would consider them to be upstanding and people that probably wouldn't lie, people that had a job to do and in their as they were going along to do this job, they encountered the paranormal. I give this film 5 out of 5 stars. I don't know what else I would give it. It's very well made. If nothing, Zak is a good filmmaker. If nothing else, Zak is a great filmmaker. And okay, Cali Alley. And if you feel like seeing this film, you should. Um, if you're afraid to see it, then maybe you shouldn't. I wasn't afraid at all until it actually started coming on, and then I was a little freaked out. And like I said, I prayed twice, but I got through it and I was fine, and I'm happy I did. But, anyways, that's my review. Demon House by Zak Bagans and his Ghost Adventure crew. Check it out. This is Tara. You can find me right here, or you can find me on my website, tarasindependentvoice.com. We are soon relocating the site and making it more of a pop culture in which I will be only, well, I can't say only, don't ever say only. I will be doing horror films, mostly independent horror, but hey, those, oh, I remember what I was going to tell you. Oh my goodness. If you remember, Zak said there was a famous filmmaker, and I'm glad I said independent horror. I wouldn't have thought about it. Zak said there's an independent film, or there's a filmmaker who had a very huge hit horror film a few years back. I believe this person to be Oren Paley, who did the Paranormal Activity films. And if you want to say 2 years ago, I believe his name is on The Conjuring and is on several films. He doesn't only direct, now he produces, directs, um, does all kind of writes. So yeah, that's who I think it is. I mean, I can't think of anybody else. That the minute he said that, it caught in my head, and I was like, that's who it is. It can only be him. Anyways, this is Tara. As I was saying, we're going to do independent or not independent horror films is what we're going to do, and documentaries, because that's what I like. And why spend my time watching chick flick films that I hate when I could be doing what I love? So please comment down below, no matter what your comment is. Zak can take it. I can take it. Doubt if he'll ever read this, but I will send it to him. And also, if you would like to see more reviews like this or just see my reviews, please subscribe, turn on notifications, give me a thumbs up, and as I said, make a comment below. I appreciate your patronage, and I hope you all have a good week. Bye-bye.